Nairobi, 4:47 a.m. The sky was still dark when Zawadi's hands found the matchbox. The charcoal stove hissed to life, sending sparks into the pre-dawn air. Her fingers were already blistered from yesterday, and the day before, and the 300 days before that. The first customer hadn't arrived. But the rent was due in 3 days. And she had exactly 400 shillings to her name. 400 shillings between her and the street. Zawadi sold chai and mandotsi from a wooden cart on Moore Avenue. Every morning before the city woke, every evening after it slept. 2 years of rising before the sun and setting after the stars. 2 years of sweating through her kanga, of counting coins in the dim light of a kerosene lamp. The other vendors on the avenue called her MCHUMIA, the one who works in the heat. Some said it with admiration, with their eyes tracing the straight line of her spine. Most said it with pity, shaking their heads at another woman who didn't know when to stop. But Zawadi wasn't just selling chai. She was building. Every coin saved, every extra hour, every blister, and every burned fingertip, they were all bricks in a house only she could see. She kept a small notebook behind the sugar tin, wrapped in plastic to protect it from the steam. Inside, era drawing. A real cafe. A proper roof that didn't leak. Glass windows that let the morning light in soft and golden. A hand-painted sign that read, Zawadi's Place. That notebook was her shade. Her future shade, waiting on the other side of 10,000 suns. Her grandmother Cucu had told her something once, sitting under the mango tree behind their homestead in Machikos. The old woman had taken Zawadi's hands in hers, hands that were already rough at 19, and turned them palm up, tracing the calluses like she was reading scripture written in skin. "MCHUMIA JUANI HULA KIVULINI, mwanangu," she said softly. "He who works in the sun eats in the shade. The sun you suffer today will feed you in the shade tomorrow. But only if you don't stop." Zawadi never forgot. Not for one single morning. The long rains came hard that year, and with them, the silence on the streets. For 3 weeks, Zawadi's cart sat empty under a torn tarpaulin, rain pooling in the mandotsi pans. The savings shrank from a river to a stream to a drip. The landlord knocked twice, each time louder. She stood at the window of her single room in Mathar, watching the rain wash away another day's potential earnings, and thought about Chuchu's mango tree back in Machikos, how it stood through every storm and every dry season because its roots had gone deep, deeper than the wind could reach. She would go deeper too. And then there was Baraka. Baraka was everything Zawadi wasn't: flashy shoes that clicked on the pavement, a new phone every season, designer sunglasses even when it wasn't sunny. She sold beauty products online, or at least, that's what she said she did. "Zawadi, why are you still on that cart?" she asked one afternoon, leaning against the cart like it was a prop. "Come with me. I know people. Quick money. No more blisters. You won't have to wake up at 4 a.m. anymore." The offer smelled sweet. But Zawadi's grandmother had taught her something about sweet things in the sun, that's how you know they are rotting inside. Zawadi looked at her own hands. Calloused. Scarred. 2 years of fire and flour pressed into every line. She looked at Baraka's hands, smooth, manicured, holding a phone that would be replaced next month and forgotten the month after. "No, Baraka," she said quietly. "I'll take the slow road." Baraka laughed, the laugh that echoed down Moore Avenue. "Slow road? MCHUMIA, you'll die on that road." "Maybe. But Zawadi would die standing upright. Not kneeling. Not pretending." The slow road was honest, and honest roads, her grandmother always said, are the only ones that don't collapse under you. The slow road meant adding samosas to the cart. It meant teaching herself chapati from a YouTube tutorial at midnight, burning 3 batches before the 4th one came out golden and flaky. It meant staying open when every other food joint on the street had shut down for the night. The other vendors went home at 7. Zawadi stayed till 10. The night shift workers, the matatu drivers between runs, the hospital staff finishing late shifts, the students studying by phone light, they became her regulars. She wasn't just selling food anymore. She was feeding a city that never sleeps, one plate at a time. Social media is a liar in a designer filter. Zawadi scrolled on her cracked phone screen and saw Baraka posting from Mombasa, white sand, blue ocean, cocktails with little umbrellas, living my best life, in bold letters over a sunset. Zawadi looked down at herself, flower dust in her hair, sweat rolling down her temple, apron stained with turmeric and charcoal ash. For one moment, one dark, exhausting moment at 2 a.m. the doubt crept in like a thief. Was Cucu wrong? Was the slow road a fool's road? She held the notebook over the charcoal flame. Her fingers loosened. She almost let go. That same night, her phone rang. Cucu. At 2 a.m., her grandmother was awake, as if she had felt the doubt from 300 kilometers away. The old woman's voice was thin but steady, like a river in dry season, still flowing, still certain. I had a dream about you, Zawadi. You were standing under a very big tree. The sun was burning everything around you, but under that tree, you were cool. Stay in the sun, mwanangu. The shade is coming. Zawadi put down the phone. She picked up the notebook. She opened it to the drawing and added another line, a great tree outside the cafe. Wide. Strong. Full of shade. Just like Cucu's tree in Machukos. Month 18. Something shifted, the way seasons shift, not all at once, but you feel it in the air before you see it. A food blogger posted about the chai lady on Moi Avenue who makes the best chapati in Nairobi, maybe in all of Kenya. The post got 12,000 likes. By the end of that week, Zawadi's line stretched past 2 other vendors' carts and around the corner. She sold out every single day for 7 straight days. But she didn't raise her prices. She didn't cut her portions. She didn't take the easy money. She just worked harder. Longer. Harder. The sun wasn't done with her yet. Baraka's empire was built on sand and the sand was washing away. Their beauty products turned out to be unregistered imports with forged labels. The quick money came with strings that became chains, and the chains became a debt she couldn't pronounce. One Thursday evening, her phone rang. It was Baraka. The voice that had laughed at the slow road was now shaking. Zawadi. I need help. They're saying I owe 300,000. I don't have 300. Not 1,000. 300 shillings. The woman who'd stood in Zawadi's shade and mocked the work was now begging to walk in the heat she'd fled. Zawadi could have turned away. It's what the world would have understood and maybe even respected. But Cucu taught her that the sun burns everyone eventually, and shade is for sharing, not hoarding. She didn't give Baraka money that would have been pity, and pity rots faster than shortcuts. She gave her a job at the cart. Real work. Real wages. You'll stand next to me in the heat, Baraka. And when the shade comes, when not if, you'll sit in it too. That night after closing, Zawadi opened the notebook one more time. The total savings line at the bottom of page 47 read, enough. Finally, enough. She found it on Kimathi Street. A narrow shop with a rusted green door and a ceiling that leaked in exactly 2 places when the wind came from the east. The paint was peeling, the floor was cracked, and everyone said she was crazy. A cat is one thing, Zawadi. A shop is a different world. What if it fails? But she had saved every shilling. Every coin that could have bought a new pair of shoes or a birthday dinner or a single afternoon of rest was now buying something invisible, possibility. She signed the lease with the same blistered hands that had needed 10,000 chapatis. And she smiled. Opening day. The sign read exactly what the notebook said, in the same careful handwriting, the Zawadi's place. Glass windows, second hand, but cleaned until they shone. Wooden tables built by a carpenter from the avenue who accepted half payment in chai and half in trust. Cucu's old kanga hung on the wall beside the menu like a flag of endurance. Baraka served the first customer with shaking hands and a real apron. And outside, visible through those glass windows, stood a mango tree that someone had planted 40 years ago. Its wide green canopy cast a perfect shadow that reached right to the doorstep of Zawadi's place. Cucu came on the third day. Walking stick. Faded lasso. Eyes that had seen everything Nairobi could throw at a woman, and much coast before that, and the coast before that. She sat at the best table by the window, ran her weathered hand across the polished wood, and said nothing for a long time. The cafe hummed around her, customers, clinking cups, laughter, the sizzle of fresh chapati on the griddle. Then Cucu smiled. A smile that held decades of hard mornings and stubborn prayers and faith in things unseen. She reached across the table, took Zawadi's blistered hand, and whispered, "You worked in the sun, mwanangu. Now eat in the shade." Here is what the world doesn't see: Zawadi still arrives at 4:47 a.m. She still needs the dough herself, standing at the same counter she dreamed about in that notebook. She still sweeps the floor before the first customer walks in, because cleanliness is next to dignity. The shade didn't make her lazy. The shade made her grateful. MCHUMIA JUANI HULA KIVULINI, he who works in the sun, eats in the shade. But listen carefully, the Swahili doesn't say he stops working. It says he eats. The reward is rest, not retirement. The shade is a harvest, not an ending. You plant in the sun, you feast in the shade. MCHUMIA JUANI HULA KIVULINI. Let me say it again, louder this time, for the ones still standing in the sun with sweat on their brow and doubt in their chest. MCHUMIA JUANI HULA KIVULINI. He who works in the sun eats in the shade. Your hustle is not punishment. Your sweat is not wasted water. Every blister is a brick. Every early morning is a beam. Every customer who walks past you today is someone who will walk through your door tomorrow. The shade is not a fantasy, it is a promise. A covenant between your hands and time. But only to those who stay in the sun long enough to earn it. Don't you dare walk away from the heat. Zawadi's place now employs 8 people, 8 families who eat because one woman wouldn't quit. 2 more locations are coming, one in Westlands, one in Kilimani. Cucu visits every Sunday, orders the same chai with extra ginger, and always insists on paying full price. This is business, mwanangu. I am a customer. Baraka manages the kitchen now, her hands finally rough from honest work instead of smooth from easy schemes. And on the wall beside the register, framed in gold leaf, is a single page from an old sugar-stained notebook. A drawing of a cafe. A tree outside, wide and strong. And in small, determined handwriting that a grandmother would recognize, is the words of a woman who knew that patience and sweat are the only roads that lead somewhere worth arriving. This is Channel A, African Wisdom Stories. Every proverb we tell carries the weight and wisdom of generations who walked this continent before us. If you're standing in the sun right now, if the rent is due and the line is long and the doubt is loud, keep standing. The shade is coming. Follow Methali Stories for new African wisdom every Sunday and Wednesday. Comment Juani if you're still out there grinding in the sun. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it today. Asante sana, and remember, MCHUMIA JUANI HULA KIVULINI. Until next time.